Okay. This is Kaitlyn Boykin, and this is my presentation for the digital citizenship and ethical use of technology in the classrooms. Let me cover that. Why are you not moving? There we go. Online privacy is a level of protection that a person has while they're on the internet. You want to make sure that your browser is secured before you enter any of your personal information, such as your address, your name, any of your credit card information. Online privacy is very important that it protects your information while you're on the internet. You want to make sure that you have the HTTPS or a um, lock in the top corner of your browser whenever you enter any of your personal information, just to make sure that it's not going to be able to be hacked and stolen from you. Online privacy is important because you're putting all of your information out onto the internet for people to access. There are people out there that are way better with computers than I ever will be, and they can figure out how to take your information and use it at their own free will. Make sure that you do not put any of your information on an unsecured website. So, like I said, make sure you look for the lock in the top corner of your screen or the HTTPS, not just HTTP. Um, Hackers will take this information and steal your credit, well, to your credit card information and identity theft and any type of thing like that. An example of this would be online shopping, or if, like I said, if you're entering a giveaway and you put your address or your phone number, that's easily accessible. This is the actual law on acceptable use policies in the public classroom. It should state that each school district in the state shall develop and adapt a written policy concerning student and staff use of computers owned by the school district. The written policy shall state that a system to prevent computer users from accessing material harmful to minors shall be established and maintained for all public access computers in the school district. And that just essentially means that each school is to come up with their own policy of this. They meet with their school board, their staff, and then I believe they have lawyers on call that they can talk to about this, but they are responsible for coming up with their own use policy. It has to be written. Most of the time, it's in a handbook that they give out to students. The Drew Central one is the one I found in that. Oops, I did not mean for Sherry to be talking. The Drew Central computer policy was that students agree that he or she will use the district's internet access for educational purposes only. In using the internet, the student agrees to obey all federal laws and regulations and state laws and rules. The student also agrees to abide by any internet rules instituted at that student, school, or class, whether the rules are written or oral. So this could be a rule that your teacher tells you not to do something. It doesn't necessarily have to be written down. But by reading this, they understand that. And there's paperwork you have to fill out just stating that you agree to use computers wisely, essentially. Plagiarism and cheating in the classroom. Cheating was defined as when you act dishonestly in order to gain an advantage, and plagiarism was taking someone else's work or ideas and claiming it as your own. They essentially go hand in hand because if you plagiarize something, you're taking someone else's work and using it dishonestly. And in the use policy from Drew Central, it states that they will follow all the laws and regulations, state and federal. So that goes hand in hand with cheating and plagiarism because that is I think it's a federal offense. Might just be a state thing, but I know you can definitely get thrown out of school for it. So that falls hand in hand with the acceptable use policies. And the best way to prevent anything is education. A lot of people don't understand, some people just don't know. The best way to help prevent these situations are to educate the people. Of course, you're always going to have those students that don't care or they're not doing anything, so it's not their problem. But the students that really do care and the students that really are going to do something in their life, they're going to care and they're going to understand the consequences that come along with cheating and plagiarism. Copyright laws are the exclusive legal right given to an originator or an assignee to print, publish, perform, film, or record literacy, artistic, or musical material and authorize others to do so as well. That's essentially somebody is going to pay a company to copyright something so that anytime that is used, they get money or they get recognition. Or I know a lot of times in books, you have to have permission from that company, and each student has to purchase that book, especially for colleges. You have to purchase or rent it. So the university buys the book. There is an exception. It's the fair use policy, and it was created so that people could use the copyrighted material with a certain extent, to a certain extent, without infringing upon the copyrights. Teachers can take one chapter out and use it for their students, or they can cite the material properly. The same thing for students. They can use bits and pieces of the book, but they also have to cite where they got that information from. Copyrights affecting teachers. Every book that the teachers use has copyrights on it, but with the fair use policy, they're able to print out copies of that book and give to their students. They can't copy the entire book, but they can take bits and pieces of it, preferably like just one chapter, and use it, or they can cite that book in a PowerPoint where they're teaching the students. If not, the teachers would have to buy every single student a book or a textbook or workbook, just depending on the situation. And from year to year, that gets kind of expensive. And I know at certain public schools, they don't really get much funding. So it really helps the teachers out with the fair use policies. Yeah. Copyrights affect students. It's kind of tricky with students because they have fair use policies, but they can't necessarily um, copy books and pages just like the teachers could. They can cite some of the materials in their work and they can take bits and pieces of it, but they can't copy out the entire chapter and hand it out to people because that would be infringing on copyrights because they're not necessarily using it for education, they're using it for their personal use. Um, they have to make sure they cite the sources correctly. I know in my high school, they were very, very ticky on making sure you cited things correctly, especially my English teachers, just because they didn't want us to get in trouble in high school and that ruined our career for the rest of our life. And then once again, just educate yourself on copyright laws. If you don't know what it is, ask somebody, Google it, do your own research just so you can make sure that you are doing your correct work and you're getting everything done correctly so you don't get in trouble for it. This is the copyright symbol. All copyright material will have that copyright symbol in it somewhere. Books are going to have it either in the very front cover or on the title page of the book. And on some websites or articles down at the very bottom, you're going to see like a little C and the company that copyrighted it. And that's what you'll be able to find those to see if they're copyrighted or not. But this is just the copyright symbol that you'll see. And then these are the sources for where I got the Drew Central Handbook and then the Arkansas Acceptable Use Policy. Thank you.